Game Week 25 is here for Fantasy Premier League managers, and it's one that brings quite a few questions with it. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of these key questions, such as should you really get rid of Ali or Ericsson for Sigurdsson? Is Lukaku a must-have now? And is there a spot in our teams for Manchester City new boy Gabriel Jesus? As well as this, we're going to take a look at some of the current topics in FPL and injury news, and that's all coming up next. What's up everybody, and welcome to another FPL looking ahead video, this time to Game Week 25. My name's Andy, and like I said at the start of the video, we're going to take a look at some of the key points and questions going into this game week. Apologies that I didn't do one of these videos for Game Week 24. I know I've been trying to do them consistently. It's not just because I had a poor week. The main reason I couldn't do a video last week was because I could only fit one in as well as the streams that I've been doing, and I thought that one on the blanks and double game weeks would be more beneficial for people, and it looks good so far. That's my most viewed video, so I think I made the right decision. But anyway, last week was a pretty good week for a lot of FPL managers. Don't panic, this isn't where I start gloating about Lukaku again. But in all seriousness, to me, it feels like Game Week 25 is the one we're just trying to get out of the way at this point. Once it's done, we'll have a clearer picture from the FA Cup of who is and isn't going to play in Game Week 28. And as most of us are already looking towards blank and double game weeks, it's this information that we're really looking for. Now, I'm not going to go into full detail of the blank and double game week because I've already made a video, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. But we are going to touch on it from time to time because it is such a big talking point at the moment. And it is where we're going to start today, looking at some blank game week options. Hull City are a team that I think a lot of people had already written off a few games ago. But all of a sudden, we're starting to take a look at their FPL assets, primarily in defence. Since Marco Silva came in, he did get a bit of stick at the start, especially from the likes of Phil Thompson and Paul Merson on Sky Sports. But he's done well since he's come in. They've only lost one of the last 4 games. They beat Bournemouth 3-1 in his first game. Then they lost to Chelsea 2-0, but to be fair, I think people expected a higher scoreline than that. And since then, they've kept 2 clean sheets against Man United and Liverpool, so that's pretty impressive. And in addition to that, they've got some really nice fixtures coming up after the Arsenal game this week. That includes Burnley, Leicester, Swansea and Everton, West Ham and Middlesbrough in the next 6, and 4 of those games are at home. Now, they have started to tighten up at the back. Time will tell whether they can keep this up, but they are looking slightly better than they did earlier in the season. And with no blank game week in 26 or 28, I think there's some really good value to be had by looking at their defence. So in goal, you've got Jakupovic, who seems to have won his place back. And he's someone that could probably not replace Heaton, but he could be a good addition to Heaton. He's got some, obviously, like I just said, he's got some home fixtures to come, whereas Heaton has quite a few away fixtures right now. Although they're against the easier teams for the most part, you'd still rather play, I think, Jakupovic at home. And when Heaton does play at home, he actually has some quite hard fixtures against the likes of Spurs. So potentially you could have Jakupovic as a backup. Now, for those like me that own Pickford, it's worth noting, that he's now back in training, so he could be back soon. But again, Sunderland don't have the fixtures that Hull do. So if you've got a spare transfer, or perhaps even for a hit, it really could be worth bringing Jakupovic in, because I think he's going to pay that back over the long term. And in defence, you've got probably the 2 best options are Robertson or Maguire right now. So Robertson's quite an attacking left back. Doesn't have quite the stats to back that up at the moment, but he probably is one of the more attacking left backs or full backs for Hull. He's 4.3 million and nailed on, so he's a really good option. And the other one who no one's really been talking about that much apart from the last few weeks is Harry Maguire. Now he's 4.4 million, and he's played the last 10 games in a row. Now they do have 4 centre-back options right now. Dawson's injured at the moment, but he should be back soon enough. So there's potential for rotation, but the fact that he's played the last 10 games and the fact that he's tightened up and are doing well right now makes me think he'll keep his place. And to go along with the potential defensive returns, he's actually matching Alonso in the last 4 game weeks for shots, goal attempts. So that's pretty impressive. There could be goals to come. Maguire's the one I'm looking at. I don't think I'm going to be put off by the fact that he could get rotated or dropped out. I think he's worth a punt. So yeah, one of those defenders or goalkeepers could be a really good addition to your team. Perhaps even the double up. I don't know. We'll leave that up to you. So one of the questions that keeps getting asked a lot at the moment is, should you bench Sanchez and Ibra in Game Week 26 when they're guaranteed to blank? Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because 1, we don't know whether they're going to blank again in Game Week 28, and 2, it really does depend on your team. So for my team, I have other players I need to get rid of first. And with Ibra playing Bournemouth in Game Week 27, I'm going to look at keeping him so that I can captain him in Game Week 27. Now, it's worth noting that players like Sigurdsson, who a lot of people are looking to bring in right now, has Burnley in Game Week 27, so it's not like there's no other captain options. But I think Ibra could be a good one in that. It really also depends on how much money you've got tied up in these players. So if they're ones you're going to want back, and you've got a lot of money tied up because you got them cheap and now they've risen in price, then it could be worth keeping. I said this in my blanket double game weeks video. For me, for example, for Sanchez, I got him at 11.5 and he's now, I think, 11.9. So I've not made that much money on him really, and he's probably going to drop in price because of the blank game weeks. So it could be worth getting rid of him. He has Liverpool in game week 27. But what I would say is try and keep your transfers as long as possible. Don't try and make those decisions this week. Wait until next week. If, for example, Spurs or Chelsea were to get knocked out of the FA Cup and have a fixture in game week 28, then all of a sudden it's a lot easier to get rid of a player like Ibra for Costa or Kane. But if they're all going to blank, then perhaps you should just save that transfer and bench him. Like I said, we'll find out more next week on this, and we'll probably be able to answer this question a bit easier. But I would say take a look at your team, see how many players you can get out. Is there anyone you want to bring in, and how much value have you got tied up in them? Look at all that and then make the decision from there. So I wanted to dedicate a small part of this video to someone who's been FPL Manager's probably favourite striker for the last couple of years. You know, you get this man, Sergio Aguero, you put him in your team, and you captain him every single week. And it's something we've done for a long time since he's been fit. But right now, he's not an option, and in some ways, it's not sad, but it's a shame to see him not in our teams, because he's such a good player to watch. And we don't know if he's going to be completely kept out of the team. He could be brought back in. We don't know that yet. But right now, if you've still got him, I don't see how you can keep him. He's 12.8 million. He's not necessarily first team now or first choice, and even if he does come back, there's no saying that he won't get rotated by Pep in the next one. So I'm not going to go on and on about Aguero because I think I've said it enough on streams right now. If you have him, I think you have to get rid. I know there's that thought of, well, let's keep him for Bournemouth because it could be a whole goal show against them because Bournemouth are conceding so much. If he's benched again, he's just going to annoy you for another week. So let's say goodbye to Sergio Aguero for now and move on to the next big thing at Man City. So Gabriel Jesus seems to be the main man at Man City right now, not Sergio Aguero. The Brazilian has kept Aguero on the bench for the last 2 matches, and in that time he scored an impressive 3 goals and 1 assist, which is really good, especially for those that got on him early. The key question is, should you bring him into your team now if you don't already own him? And to be honest, I'm not so sure that we should. Obviously, he's Pep's signing. Pep likes him. He brought him in because, or one of the reasons he brought him in was because of his ability to press up front. Which he seems to be doing quite well. But given that he's quite young and new to the league, and the fact that Pep's rotated quite a few players already this season, I am a bit worried that he's not going to keep starting every game. And obviously, it's not like they don't have a good backup in Aguero that could come on. Now, coupled with this is the fact that he blanks in game week 26, so he does have Bournemouth up next, who are shipping goals, so it could be a good match. But after that, he's going to blank. Then he has Sunderland, which again could be a really good fixture for Man City and for Jesus. But I suppose, who are you getting rid to bring him in? If it's someone like Ibra, Costa or Kane, I don't see the merit in that. I think Jesus will do well, but they're proven strikers as well who have good fixtures. And obviously Kane and Costa aren't going to blank in game week 26. Now if it's a third striker, someone like Benteke, then I can see the merits to it. I suppose it depends whether you're a manager who likes to take a risk or play it safe. So the safe pick would be to keep that transfer. Or perhaps go for someone like Lukaku if you don't already own him, because obviously he doesn't blank. But the riskier move or more aggressive move would be to bring him in and try and get those points, because a lot of FPL managers won't own him. Although he's going to be one of the most transferred in players this week, there will still be a high percentage of managers that don't own him. So let me know in the comments below what you think about Jesus. I'd really like to have him in my team because I think Man City will do well against Bournemouth just like everyone else is, especially for goals. But I'm going to go with that. I'm turning into quite a boring FPL manager. This is probably a punt I would have done in the past. But because my rank is starting to rise, I'm starting to think a bit safer. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think on this. For me, I don't think you bring him in just yet for most people's teams. But we'll see how he does in the next few weeks. Another man that scored 3 goals and got an assist in the last few games is Sigurdsson. And it seems as though every man and his dog is trying to get him into their team right now. And considering he's 7.4 million... and doesn't blank in 26 or 28, you can see why. Now, for a lot of people, if you've got an easy decision, like if you've got, like, say, a Liverpool midfielder, or like me, if you've got Morales, who might not even play, then it's an easy decision to bring Sigurdsson in. The key question that I keep seeing being asked, though, is, should you get rid of Ali and Ericsson? So this is for the managers that own both of them. Now, it's always a headache trying to decide which of 2 midfielders from the same team to get rid of, because you're always worried in the next match one of them will go mad and you'll get rid of the wrong one. So I'm not sure whether you should get rid of either, because Spurs has Liverpool away next and then Stoke at home. So two fixtures I can see them scoring in. Whereas Sigurdsson has Leicester next, which, yes, really good fixture. I can see him getting a goal, maybe even a goal and assist in that game. But then they have Chelsea away. Now, if I was betting money, I would bet on the Chelsea defence rather than the Swansea attack. Now, if Swansea are going to score, Sigurdsson will probably be involved. But I think Chelsea are going to get a clean sheet in that game. So really, you're bringing in Sigurdsson just for Leicester, and then the games from Chelsea onwards. Now, if you're struggling for blanks, like if you've got a bunch of players that are going to blank in Game Week 26 and you want someone to play, then obviously Sigurdsson's a really good bet. But both Ali and Eriksson are both going to play in Game Week 26. They play Stoke at home, like I just said. So I'm not so sure you should get rid of one, but if you want to, it's probably got to be Ali right now. Because Spurs are playing 4 at the back and Son's come back into the mix, Ali's not getting far forward. When they were playing 3 at the back, he was actually more advanced than Kane. He was really getting into the box quite a lot and having quite a few shots, but that's actually stopped happening. Whereas Eriksson has still been fairly consistent with his assists and shots on goal. So I think if you absolutely have to make a decision, then it's Ali. But all I'll say is I'm glad that I don't have to make that decision. I'm not sure that Sigurdsson will score in Game Week 26, so back to Chelsea defence. But in the long term, Sigurdsson's a really great pick who isn't going to blank. Lukaku, like Sigurdsson, is someone that all FPL managers are looking to bring in their side right now. And you can see why after his 4-goal haul last week. What I would say is, yes, he's a great option in the long run. And next week he looks like captain material again with Sunderland at home. But this week he does play Middlesbrough away. They've only conceded more than 1 goal once in the last 5 fixtures and have generally been pretty tight in defence this season. Like Jesus, though, if you've got players like Benteke, Giroud, maybe even Defoe, although he has been doing well, then it's perhaps an easier decision to bring in Lukaku. But if you're having to look at the likes of Ibra, Costa and Kane out, and I've seen some people doing this for a -4, I'm not so sure that it's a good idea because I don't see a big goal haul for Lukaku or Everton against Middlesbrough. So you really need to look at your own team. He's already gone up in price once this week. Looks likely to do that again tonight, so I'm recording this on a Thursday, so it looks likely to go up tonight. And potentially could go up again before the Saturday deadline. So if money's a problem, you could look to bring him in now. He's obviously not going to blank. He's got a lot of nice home fixtures, so it's good for the run-in. Or the run over the blanks and double game weeks. But if you can afford to wait, then I would probably wait and see what happens next week. He is a good pick, though, so I wouldn't begrudge anyone bringing him in. But just be careful about that Middlesbrough game, because I'm not sure there's many goals in it. So we're going to take a look at some of the injury updates. Now, I'm recording this on a Thursday, so not all press conferences will have been yet. But teams like Man United and Chelsea will be on Friday, so you can catch the latest news there. I'll probably be tweeting out any major injury stuff that we see. But we do have some stuff from today. So Hector Bellerin is still undergoing tests. He hasn't trained yet this week. So he's a bit of a worry if you own him. Wenger's saying they'll find out tomorrow if he's getting the green light, but waiting that long in the week to find out if he can play, it's a bit of a worry, and we could see Gabriel play there again at the right back. So whether or not Arsenal will get a clean sheet, hopefully, because it's Hull. But after that, they've got a few away games, West Brom and Liverpool in the next 3. And then they've got a home game against Man City. So I don't think Arsenal defence is where I'd be investing right now. And they are going to look weaker without Bellerin. Hopefully he'll be back, but we just don't know at the moment. And then we've also got West Ham. So Bilic has said that Carroll hasn't trained this week. And he's also said that's not the first time that's happened. Now, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. He's obviously done quite well recently, so if he's not been training, then fair play to him. But it can't be good in the long run. We already know that he's an injury-prone player. So if you own him, I think you can probably keep him for now. It looks like he'll probably play. If you don't own him, I'm not sure you should be bringing him in. The one thing we want to do in blank game weeks is bring in players from teams that are definitely playing. But at the same time, we need players that are nailed on, because our squads are going to be, they're going to be quite bare with a lot of players missing out. So Andy Carroll will be someone that worries me. If you already own him, I think you keep. But if you don't, I think you don't bring him in. But let me know in the comments below what you think about him, because he's been quite popular recently. And then lastly, you got Danny Rose. So he's still going to be out. There were reports that it was going to be about a month out. But Pochettino seems to have played that down. They seem quite happy with him, and they're just building fitness up now. But with him out of the team, they could carry on with the 4 at the back, which is going to affect them going forward. Like I said earlier in the video, players like Ali. Obviously, if you own Rose, then he's one to get rid of now. You could invest in someone like Walker instead, but with players like Coleman and Baines not blanking and having good fixtures, I'd probably look to move away from Spurs if you own players like Danny Rose. So like I said earlier in the video, it is just a big coincidence that I happened to miss out my Game Week 23 results because I didn't do one of these videos and it was one of my worst weeks, and now we're back doing them again. I've had one of my best weeks, so yeah, just a big coincidence, I promise. So I scored 93 points, which was a game week rank of 34,456 out of the whole world. And I think that's my best rank so far this season. It's made me get up to 103,667 in the world, so I'm pretty close to the top 100k now. And I think that's a good platform to build on for the rest of the season. Now, it's worth noting, I was nearly 500k in the world in Game Week 19, so in 5 game weeks I've gone up 400,000 places nearly. So it just shows what can happen with a couple of green arrows and the right captain choice. So that's where we'll start. Obviously, I brought in Lukaku and captained him. I'd seen that Bournemouth were shipping quite a few goals. I'd actually seen that Lukaku's stats in the previous 2 games weren't actually that good. It was just the fact that Bournemouth were conceding so much, and this was a home game for Lukaku. So I put the captain on him. Obviously, was expecting a goal or 2, but not 4, so really happy with that. Ibrahimovic chipped in again with a goal. And Mkhitaryan, who I've held for 6 weeks, finally returns. Obviously, in the long run, that's not a good pick because he's done so little for so long. But I didn't think this was the game to get rid of him because he's had Leicester and then he's got Watford this week. So I kept hold of him. Really nice to see in goal and assist. I actually nearly lost my voice from celebrating that goal. And then Alonso again chips in with a goal. He's just been a brilliant pick for me so far. And probably my more favourite defensive pick is Chris Brunt, 9 points. That's now 7 games at home in a row where he's got an average of 8 points per game, which is just ridiculous for his price. So hopefully he can continue that on. Game Week 24, great week for me, but we're going to look ahead now to Game Week 25. So this is how I'm looking for Game Week 25. A couple of weeks ago, after Sigurdsson only got 1 assist in 6 games and had Man City and Liverpool in the next 2 fixtures, I decided to get rid of him, and obviously Morales wasn't going to blank because he was playing for Everton and had a good run in the side and been doing well, so I made that transfer. Obviously now I wish I had him because I've reversed it this week. As soon as Morales got benched, I decided that was it for him for my team. And obviously Sigurdsson went and scored against Man City. We know he's on all set pieces, including penalties, so with no blanks it was an easy decision for me. So he's in my team and this is how I'm lining up. I've got Mkhitaryan for 1 more game against Watford at home. I'm probably going to have to get rid next week because I've got 4 players who definitely aren't going to play because they play for Man United or Arsenal. And I've got Amat, who also isn't playing. So Mkhitaryan 1 more week for me, and then he'll go to fund other moves, like bringing Coleman in. I'll probably do Mkhitaryan to one of the West Ham midfielders, so Antonio or Snodgrass, but I'm not decided on that yet. But for this week, Phil Jones could play. He's saying he's okay. We'll see what Mourinho thinks and whether he'll come straight back in the side. Because obviously we've got Bailly and Smalling for Man United who played in the last game, so they could play again. If Jones doesn't play, then I've got Holebas coming on. It's not ideal, but I think for now I'm going to save that transfer, not take a hit, and take the hit next week. Now, the reason for that is I could get someone like Funes Mori in this week, but I think perhaps next week my thinking will be different, and I'll want Maguire or Robertson from Hull. But obviously I don't want them when they're playing Arsenal away. So I'm going to save that and decide next week. Holebas, yeah, like I said, not ideal, but if he comes on and gets an assist maybe, then that could be okay. And then captain-wise, I'm going for Sanchez. I think there's a bit of a worry over Arsenal, I suppose, but they've still been scoring goals. They've moved back to having Sanchez up front against Chelsea, and I think that will continue. Some people think Giroud will come back in, but I think they'll go with Sanchez up front because he did so well for them earlier in the season. And Hull, yes, they've been a bit more defensive recently. Got a couple of good clean sheets in the last few games, but I think they're going to concede to Arsenal, and I think Sanchez is still the main man there. So I'm going to go for him. That is a bit of a safe captaincy option because I think he'll be the most captain. Obviously, you've got Ibra against Watford again. It's another good fixture for him, and he's still doing well. But Sanchez is the one I'm going to go for just because of that extra point for the goal and the extra point for the potential clean sheet. Sigurdsson's kind of like the differential pick because he's probably not going to be captained by too many of the entire kind of FPL player base. And Leicester have been doing poorly. They look pretty rubbish. They're nearly in relegation now. The players just don't seem to have any fight in them. And obviously Kante's a huge miss for them, like he has been all season since they sold him. But I'm going to play it safe and go Sanchez. And then the only other option really is to play Crouch ahead of Phillips. I think Crouch is in form and he's playing at home. Phillips has been unlucky not to be in the points the last 4 game weeks, so I'm still happy to hold on to him. But because he's playing away, I'm going to bench him. And hopefully that won't come to bite me. And maybe a 100-point week this week. I don't think so, but you never know. That's it for today's video. Thanks as always for watching. Really hope you found it useful. Let me know in the comments below what kind of last minute decisions you have. How are you looking for Game Week 25? Is there any transfers you're looking to make that you're not sure about, or any captaincy decisions? You can let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate you hitting the thumbs up button, get as many likes as possible on this one, and also subscribe so you know when the next video is going live. That will also let you know when I'm going live for the live streams that I'm doing. So the next one of those should be on Friday at 9:30 PM. They're kind of casual. We just chat about whatever the chat wants to bring up. There's nothing too constructed about it. I don't go in there with a load of things that we want to discuss. It really depends on the viewers. And if you want to know when those streams are going live in the future, you can also follow me on Twitter at Andy85WSM. But until next time, keep chatting FPL, and I'll catch you soon.